Hi there, and welcome to The Cycle of Growth Starts with Change. So what we want to accomplish in this program is a tool for you to be able to accommodate change so it's easier for people to accept and they buy in so the change takes place and the desired outcomes happen as you would like them to. So let's think about change in your organization. Whenever there's a change to be made in any organization, there will always be a variety of responses. You'll have some people who embrace the change with zeal and are exhilarated by it. And typically, those are the people who have been in on the process from the beginning. They buy into the whole concept of change, understand why we need to change, and are ready to go forward with it, ready to roll it out. So, there are also going to be the people who, well, they like the way the things are now. They don't really see a need for change and are probably going to drag their feet a little bit. Those are the people who you definitely need to do a little bit more work with and bring into the process. Then there's the third group. I call those the anarchists. And by the way, there's no room for anarchy in any organization. And those are the people who will try to undermine your change. No anarchists whatsoever. That is absolutely not allowed. If you have that in your organization, you have to move them up or move them out. If they are not able to move up, you've got to move them out. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to go over a model that will make it a lot easier for all parties to accept the change and, as we mentioned earlier, achieve the desired outcomes for the organization. So what you see in front of you is a model for the cycle of growth starts with change. You'll notice that in this cycle, there are 5 stages: mastery, need for change, new behavior, adaptation, and light at the end of the tunnel, all leading back to mastery. So let's talk about mastery for just a moment. The first stage in the cycle is mastery. Now, mastery really presumes that we've reached a level of doing something really well, which is typically a very comfortable place for us to be. So when we're doing something so well that it becomes automatic, it doesn't require a lot of effort. So when you're introducing change, it can feel a little uncomfortable. So when there comes a need for change, that's when we have to say, all right, something's happening here, something's changing, and we have to do things a little differently, which means now we are off of the mastery stage and we are in the need for change stage. In the need for change stage, maybe what's happening is we're looking at growth and our current systems will not support that growth. Perhaps we have new competition coming into our market and we need to enhance how we're doing with business either in one area, several, or many areas. So these are all catalysts for change. And then at that moment, that's when the pit in the stomach, that feeling of change for some is nauseating. For others, it's exhilarating. So, once we've defined exactly what we need to do to change, that will allow us to grow. And by the way, I'm speaking about this from a business organizational sense, but this certainly is applicable to our personal and professional development as individuals. So once we've defined the need for change, then we need to define what the new behaviors are going to be that will allow that change to occur. So this is the part that really requires a lot of in-depth thought. It requires thinking things through to the end. It requires a lot of timelines, definition of desired outcomes for the vision. And the reason that there's a lot of time that needs to be spent in this stage is because this is how you create clarity so that you can communicate those expectations to the staff who will be carrying out these new behaviors. So this is typically where a lot of the resistance sets a foothold. And this is because people are concerned about whether or not they're capable of these new behaviors. Do they understand what's expected of them? And whether or not it's really worth it. After all, we've been pretty successful doing what we've done for how many years? Why should we change? So this is where you start to get a lot of resistance. What I'm wanting you to think about is, as a strategic management team, understand this model. Then you're going to take this model as you've thought through every stage, and you're going to take it back to your entire staff and explain all of the stages of growth as it relates to change so that they can accept the change a lot more easily. Okay, so let's go back and talk about the new behavior stage. In the new behavior stage, what I encourage you to do is start with a key group of management or leadership. And really think about what are the behaviors that serve us as an organization. What are the behaviors that we have to change? So we really have to define these things. We have to think them through, as we mentioned earlier, create timelines, etc. Then once you have that down, once you all think in your management and leadership brains, we've got this, this is good. This is where you're going to take it to a little bit of the next stage of new behaviors. And what I would encourage you to do is develop what I call a group of elite dissenters. Now, the purpose of the group of elite dissenters, love that name, elite dissenters, is for you to choose a committed group of staff other than management. So there will be no management in this elite group of dissenters. This will be staff who really have a sense of commitment to your organization, who see things clearly, who understand where we are going as an organization. And what you are going to do is you are going to share your plans with them as a management and leadership group. You're going to share your plans with the elite group of dissenters before you roll it out to the entire staff in terms of expectations. Now, really the purpose of this is for them to tell you what is going to fly and what is not going to fly. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, we've just done all this work. They're going to pull it to pieces. Well, you know what? They might pull some of it to pieces. They might look at it and say, this is great, we love this. But the reason that you do this is because this group of elite dissenters is going to tell you what needs to be adapted, what's going to fly, what's not going to fly, so that we can achieve the desired outcomes. So it gives you an opportunity to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, in our management and leadership brains, which may not be how the entire staff thinks, we need to make these changes so it is more relatable to the staff who's going to be carrying them out. Now, please understand, you still are going forward with your changes, but it'll be a lot easier for you if you have that perspective from the staff who will largely be behaving the new behaviors, to understand what's going to work and what needs to be modified. And if you do this early in the process, then fewer changes will actually have to be made in the adaptation stage. All right. Now, in this stage of new behaviors, let's wrap this part up. This, again, is where you're going to be working on training systems, so developing your new training systems for the new behaviors, maybe new equipment, new products, new services, values of the organization, etc. There's a lot of development that goes on here. So this, again, you're going to be pushing a lot of information to the staff. You want to make sure it makes sense. There's clarity with it. This is the value of the elite group of dissenters. This takes time. So again, it's important that we really think things through to the end, the full end, and all of the ramifications that could happen when we institute these new behaviors before just saying, okay, these are the new behaviors. We want to think everything through to the very end, and you're covering all your bases. All right, so the adaptation stage is what follows the new behavior stage. The adaptation stage is where we're in the thick of the training for the new behaviors to make the desired and defined changes. In this stage, this is where we make progress and we make mistakes. We'll make revisions to make further progress, and this stage requires patience on all parts. In this stage, this is where we start to lose the why do we have to do it this way and adopt the this is going to work really well. We're excited about this. This is cool. This is going to work. So there starts to be a lot of encouragement. And this is where we start to turn a corner and the staff starts to see improvement. More staff is recognizing the new way of operating and forgetting the old way. So I encourage you also to really define what the small victories are for your organization with whatever change you are working towards. This is where we enter the light at the end of the tunnel stage, and it's not a train. So this again is where everyone's starting to feel really good. Okay, this change is coming together. Your doubters are becoming believers. Your believers are really becoming even more supportive of the organization because they had a part of what was going on. Your group of elite dissenters are starting to say, this is great, because they also bought in. Remember, you brought them into the process very early. So at the light at the end of the tunnel, people are starting to feel really good. The energy totally starts to change around change. All right, now, what I'd like you to think about when we talk about small victories is, for example, your end goal may be to have all staff performing consistently with blank as one of your big, hairy, audacious goals for this change that you're going through. But you also want to break those big, hairy, audacious goals, so to speak, down into intermediate, smaller goals that define those stages of progress towards the much bigger goal or goals. So it's important to define these for the staff so they know that they're making progress. They see it. It's also important to celebrate these intermediate goals so they are unified by the change and unified by their progress. That's a huge key, unified by change rather than pulled apart by change. All right, so when you are at the end of the light stage, again, things are starting to look really, really positive. And it takes a little while to be here. It takes a while for this to become automatic. But guess what? Once it becomes automatic, where are you? You're back at mastery. You're at the top of the cycle again. Ta-da! You've mastered this new change. It now feels very normal. It doesn't take as much effort. It doesn't take a whole lot of thinking. It's much more automatic. That's the whole idea behind mastery. So, what I want you to think about when you're considering making change in your organization is what will make the change easier is to utilize this model in the planning stages, utilize this model in the introduction or presentation to the staff when you're sharing your plans, and go through the entire growth model. Explain it to them as I've explained it to you so they know what to expect ahead of time. Because if they know what to expect ahead of time, then they're going to be much more prepared to be able to deal with it. And it won't feel as much of a surprise. So then your organization will have the opportunity to really achieve the desired outcomes that have been defined within the time frame from the very start. Thanks for listening, and success to you with growth and change.